Hi, in this movie, we shall see how to transform a JDBC result set into an Excel workbook. Let us get started by creating a basic project. I'm using Spring Boot for convenience sake. We can implement similar functionality without Spring Boot as well. I'm naming the project as Result Set to Excel. And from the dependency section, let us choose H2 as our database for this demo purpose. We would not be needing any additional dependencies. Click on next and click finish. Of course, we would be needing Apache POI library that we would need to add manually. Let's wait for the import to complete. Okay. So it has created a generic Spring Boot application. Let us go to POM. Okay. And I'm just deleting the test package because we would not be needing it. I'm deleting the test dependency. And I will delete this name and description and relative path just for cleaning up the POM. And now we would need to add two dependencies for the Excel feature, like reading and writing to Excel. One is the POI library itself and the other one is the POI XML library. I'll quickly copy this and paste it, and the artifact ID would be POI OOXML. And let us add this version property in our properties section. The version that we would be using is 401. Let's save it. Okay, we are done. Now I'll just rename this class to app. It's taking too long. Okay, hit finish. Now we are done with the pom.xml. I'm closing the pom, opening this Java class. Okay, we would not be writing any additional classes. This class is enough for us. We would not be needing this Spring Boot application annotation and Spring application run. We can clean up these imports. Okay, now I'm going to minimize this. So the first thing is we need to get a database connectivity. Okay, we need to get database connection. So, and the database that we are using for this demo purpose is H2. So let us connect to H2 database. So connection from the JDBC Java SQL. We would be needing driver manager or get a connection, the traditional approach. And we need to pass URL, username, password. The URL would be JDBC H2 TCP. So we don't need to remember the URL. I'll just name it as URL and username and password. Okay, this will be the username, this will be the password field. Okay, so this will throw an SQL exception. Okay, I'll just add throws declaration since it is a demo. If we got the connection, we will proceed further. So let us take a prepared statement. We'll use con dot prepare statement and we can pass some select query here. So before that we need to have a table to query for. So let us start our H2 database. So if you go to the Maven dependency section, you can find h2.jar, just double click on it. Okay, run as Java application. Okay, so if it doesn't work, what you can do, you can go to properties. So this is in my repository, this particular path. So what I'll do, I'll go to this folder .m2 from run. Okay, and in the repository section I will go to com h2 database, com h2 database and h2, and I'll take the latest version. Just double click on this jar to start the H2 database in your local machine. Once it starts up, you will find this kind of UI and you will see this icon in your tray that H2 database engine is up and running. So simply you can just name this as, okay, don't forget to select this H2 as server mode. By default it will come up with an embedded mode. Switch it to server mode and change it to something else. Okay, I'll name it as dummy and copy this URL. Okay, this is JDBC URL that we can use in our program, and this is a username and there is no password. This is the driver class name if you want to use it. Now let us go back to STS. Okay, and paste the URL. The username is SA and there is no password. I'll use SA as username and password we can leave it blank. Okay, and now let us connect to the database. As we do not have any tables, let us create one table. I have the queries ready, so I'll just create a dummy table. Okay, named months. Okay, just copying this. Okay, and let me execute it here. Okay, the table got created, and let me insert some 6 rows into this table. Okay, clear, and let us check what is there in this table now. So now we have 6 rows in this table. Okay, let us query this table with the same query. Okay, with select star from months, and whatever result set that we get, that is the 6 rows, let us write it to an Excel sheet. That is our task. Copy the query, switch to STS, paste the query here. Okay, now you need to execute this prepared statement to run the query. Execute query will give you a result set. Okay, if you ever get any data, let us say you have some data in the table, then it will be returned to you as a result set. Now what we need to do, we need to convert this result set into an Excel workbook. So for that sake, let us write a method called write to Excel, and this will take arguments like result set, rs, okay, and the workbook, whatever you want, or workbook is Excel, the Excel, the Apache Poi libraries workbook. You can simply name it as book, okay. Now you can simply call this method in here, write to Excel, and you can pass book and rs. So as of now we do not have this book. We can remove the book and we can create the book within this method itself. If you want to externalize it, then you can create book here and the workbook here, and then pass that instance to this method. So for now let us keep it simple. We have only the result set, and we are going to create an Excel out of it. First things first, what we need to do, we need to extract the column names from this result set. So let us do that. I'll have a list of columns, which is string column names. I'll just name it as columns. Okay. Initially it will be empty. Make sure to import util.list. Okay. Now, how do we get the column names? So result set metadata will have the column names. So let us use that. Get metadata method will return as result set metadata. Okay. Let us name it as rsmd. Okay. And the get metadata method call is throwing SQL exception. Let us add throws declaration. Okay. And let us proceed further. Now, just to tweak it a bit, I'll just use double brace initialization here and extract the columns from this result set metadata. How do we do that? How do we know how many columns were there in that result set? Well, result set metadata has a column count method. Get column count will return the number of columns that are present in the result set. So now let us go to a for loop. For int I is equal to 0, or better we start at 1, because JDBC result set starts from 1, and I less than or equal to number of columns in that result set, and I plus plus. Okay. Now what do we need to do? We need to get the column name and add it to this columns list. Simply do add get column label and pass the index. Done. So now your columns array list will have the column names present in this particular result set. Okay. Now, before going here, okay, let us start writing a workbook. Let us name it as book, new XSF workbook. Okay. Let us enclose it within a try with resources block. It says unhandled exception type IO exception. I'm just clicking on add throws declaration. Now I need to add the same throws declaration here as well. I'll do that. Since this tutorial is not about covering exception handling, I'm just leaving it as is. Now As we have created a workbook is a collection of sheets. So let us create a sheet in our workbook. Book.create sheet. In case if you want to give any name to your sheet, you can use this method. I'll just leave it as default. And now we need to create rows. Okay, this sheet method is telling cannot cast to sheet. Okay, the reason is there are two sheet classes, from one is from SS and one is from SL. Make sure you import everything from SS. So I have accidentally imported it from SL. I'm changing it to SS. Next, now let us add the row that has these that will contain these headers, I mean the column names. Sheet dot create row. So create row method expects the index, the row number. So the first row is obviously the 0th row. Let us give 0 and import it from SS user model. Now that we have created header and we have the column names available to us, let us add these columns to this particular row. How do we do that? Okay, let us take a for loop. This time I is equal to 0, I less than the columns size and I plus plus. So what do we do? In a row is a collection of cells. So we need to create a cell and set this particular value of this column into that cell. So let us do that. So since we have named this row as header, we need to use header dot create cell. Now the index of cell will be the index of this particular column. I'll pass this as I because from 0 we will proceed till the number of columns we have. Import this from SS model. Okay. Now we have created a cell and we need to set some value into that cell, which is the column name. Set cell value. Okay, and you can pass some value here, which is columns.get of same index. Okay, now if you want, you can club these two lines into a single line like this and remove this. Okay, that's up to you. Now we have created an Excel sheet. Okay, we are generating an Excel sheet with just the column names. So we are done till the column names. Now we need to fill in the extra rows that are coming in our result set. We just covered the metadata part. Now let us go for the actual data. So to proceed further, let us take a row index or row number, whatever you want to call. Now while there is data in result set, let us keep repeating the same thing. Let us create a row giving the row index. Obviously we have already covered row 0 with the header. Now we need to increment this row index to 1. I mean the next row index is obviously 1. So let us pre-increment it so that every time it enters this particular block or this while loop, it will increment and it will go for the next row. Now we know how many number of elements or how many number of columns are present. So we can use this columns.size as limit for this particular loop. Let us start from 0. Columns.size and I plus plus. Now we need to get each and every value from that particular result set. Okay, we can use result set dot get of index or get of column name. Since we are not concerned about indexes, we can directly use the column names as we have them. one more thing is, since we do not know what is the data type of that particular element or particular entry in that result set, I'm by default using, I'm by default using object in this particular demo. In case if you are specific about the data types, you can directly use the data type. As this is a simple example and we have only varchar and integer as data types, I can treat them as objects. ToString rs dot, okay, I'm sorry, rs dot get object of, we need to pass the column name, columns dot get of I. You can directly pass the index as well, it is up to you. Now we get the data in the object format. Let us convert it into a string. To do that, or let me name it as val, there is a utility method called objects.toString, to which you can pass an object. Okay, it will convert it into a string. In case if this particular entry or this particular value in the result set is null, okay, you can pass a default value. I'm passing the default value as blank. In case if there is any null value, it will replace it with this blank. Now we got a row, but we need to create cells in that particular row and populate those cells with these values. Let us create cell in that row. Same thing, row dot create cell, and we need to pass the index. Now the index is obviously I, and now we have created a cell and we need to set cell dot set some value. You can set this value, okay, cell value val, and again these three lines you can merge it into a single line by doing this. Okay, it is up to you, just based on your convenience sake, you can convert it whatever you want. If you want more readability, you can use the previous approach. If you are not concerned about readability, then you can use this syntax, whatever. And finally, so now we are done with the metadata, I mean the column names and the actual data, the rows that are returned from the query. Okay, now the final thing that we need to do is we need to write this data into a file. Okay, to do that, let us take file name as an input, file name or file path, whatever you want to call it. Now the same try block, okay, let us have a nested try, file output string fos, new file output stream. We can pass a file or a file name, a string. I'm passing the file name which is coming as an argument to this particular method. Now what we need to do here, we just need to use book.write and pass the file output stream. It will take care of the rest of the things. So by this we are done with the Excel creation from the database result set. So for this write to Excel method, we have added an additional parameter called file name. Let us pass the file name as months.xlsx. Okay, now we need to run the program. Let me refresh this. So since I have given months.xls and there is no path specified, the Excel sheet will get generated here itself. Let me run this program. Java application. It doesn't give any result because I have not used any sys out here. It has terminated. So let me refresh this guy. So the months.xlsx got generated. Let me open this. Okay, if you can see, there is a sheet called sheet 0, and in this workbook months.xls, and these are the column names: id, name and email, and this is the data that we got generated. So let us change the query a little bit. Okay, so let's start from months, where id in what we can say, id in, we can pass 1 3 5. Okay, since we have only 6 entries, I'm passing 3 odd numbers here. And let me run this program again for the sake of knowing whether the program has completed or not. Let me add a sysout here. So job done, and let me rerun the program. So it says job done. Let me refresh this and open the months.xls. Now we see only 3 results, 1, 3 and 5, because only these 3 rows were returned from our query that we have executed here. So let's start from months, where id in so and so. Okay, so this is what. Hope you have liked this. Hope you have liked this video. Thank you for watching.